Like and subscribe right now, or you're going to have bad luck for the rest of the week.
Is there anything spookier than an abandoned amusement park? It's a place where laughter and children giggling once drifted through the air, and where brightly colored Ferris wheels and thrilling rides made everlasting memories. But after being abandoned, the neglected parks became home to apocalyptic scenes of decaying rides and roller coasters that are being reclaimed by Mother Nature. Let's have a look at 10 of the creepiest abandoned amusement parks in the world. Number 1 will give you goosebumps, so stay tuned for that. Number 10. Pripyat Amusement Park, Chernobyl, Ukraine. There's no one to blame but ourselves for the downfall of this theme park. Pripyat is the most famous abandoned amusement park in the world. The Pripyat Amusement Park wasn't abandoned due to weather, debt, or mismanagement, but instead the infamous Chernobyl Disaster of April 26, 1986. The grand park opening was actually scheduled for May 1st. Reports and photographic evidence indicate that Pripyat Park did open a day after the disaster, perhaps to help locals cope with the tragedy. The park was briefly accessible to locals, but they were forced to evacuate as reports of dangerously high levels of radiation in the area started to emerge, something habitants and authorities had been aware of, and on the day of the nuclear incident. Today, the park remains abandoned, with high levels of radiation present in the moss and surrounding soil. Number 9. Takakanonuma, Greenland, Japan. Takakanonuma, Greenland is the creepiest park in this list. Not only is the park abandoned, but it's off the beaten path location that contributes to the eerie feeling you get when visiting. It was a massive amusement park built in the 1970s. After the park opened in 1973, it closed in 74 or 75. Some say it was because a few people died. Probably it was to improve the park to attract more visitors. It reopened in 1986 and operated until 1999. But now it is overgrown by the forest, according to people. It's a truly mysterious place. The actual reason for the closure is not clear. Different versions attribute it to repairs and deaths on the park's equipment. It is in Habara Town, Japan. It overlooks Fukushima, 250 kilometers north of Tokyo. Most of the roller coasters are torn down by now. Number 8. Dunajvarosi Vidam Park, Hungary. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 meant many different things for generations of people. It also signified the end for the Dunajvarosi Vidam Park in Hungary, which opened way back in the 1950s. It was a communist-run theme park offering free fun for all people. The park was state-run, and after surviving on funds from the Communist Party for over 40 years, it closed its doors only 2 years after the USSR was dissolved. Today, its rides are rusted and broken, with vegetation having infested nearly every aspect of the park. Meanwhile, modern photographers still show communist slogans and propaganda painted on the walls of what remains of Dunajvarosi Vidam Park, the ghost of history preserved for all to see. It's truly a ghostly sight and an exciting insight into entertainment under the Soviet regime. Number 7. Six Flags, New Orleans. One of the creepiest amusement parks is Six Flags in New Orleans, which fell out of business following severe damage from Hurricane Katrina in 2005. The park opened in 2000 and was only operating for a few years before suffering significantly during the hurricane, which displaced 20,000 people and killed nearly 2,000 people. The park closed after Hurricane Katrina, and there wasn't enough funding for repairs, so it fell into further decay over the last few years. To this day, there still is an eerie sign at the entrance of the park that says "closed for the storm." It's an apocalyptic site which has been taken advantage of by Hollywood and used for films such as Jurassic World and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Number 6. Wonderland, China. China is home to some of the most prominent abandoned sites in the world, so it shouldn't be a surprise to find an abandoned theme park here. In Szechuan Village, China, the ruins of a partially built amusement park called Wonderland sits near a highway, surrounded by houses and fields of corn. Construction work on the park, which developers had planned would be the largest amusement park in Asia, stopped around 1998. After disagreements with the local government and farmers over property prices, developers briefly tried to restart construction in 2008, but without success. The abandoned structures are now a draw for local children and a few photographers, who encounter sites telling them to proceed at their own risk. Wonderland sits on a 100-acre plot of land outside of Beijing. The site was once conceived as a parallel to Disney's incredible amusement parks. The dream passed, however, and now this Gothic tower, which is no more than a crumbling concrete shell, marks the miscarriage of Asia's largest theme park. Number 5. Blobbyland, England. Non-English viewers can be forgiven for not knowing about Mr. Blobby, a breakout star from the hit 90s BBC variety series Noel's House Party. In an attempt to capitalize on his popularity, this monosyllabic blob opened his own group of theme parks, which were based upon his fictional hometown of Crinkly Bottom. We don't know what kind of popularity stunt that is, but it didn't really work. As with most things associated with a fad, these parks didn't last long, although their colorful remains still stand for explorers desperate for a little bit of blobby nostalgia. It closed down 5 years later, but its buildings remain on the site, abandoned and standing eerily empty until explorers discovered Mr. Blobby's house in 2009. Their pictures and videos went viral as people reminisced about their family holidays in the 90s, and so many people broke in to explore the house that it was eventually demolished in 2014. The once colorful buildings are now faded, dirty, and beyond repair. They stand as a creepy reminder of that brief moment in time when Blobbyland was actually a thing. Number 4. Giggles Lake Park, Ohio. Giggles Lake Park operated from 1887 to 2007, one of the few amusement parks in the country to span the 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries. It was already a popular spot for picnics and swimming when it opened. It featured everything from an Olympic-sized swimming pool to a racetrack, dance hall, theater, and bowling alley. Throughout the decades, Giggles Lake added many attractions and rides, including a number of popular roller coasters and other parks on surrounding sites. In 2016, the last of those, Wild Water Kingdom, called it quits. Grocery store chain Meijer had contracted to purchase the property, but it has abandoned plans to build a store there. Most recently, the 245-acre residential development was proposed for part of the site. Many of the park's rides have been moved to other amusement parks like King Diamond and Missouri's World of Fun. Number 3. Gulliver's Kingdom, Japan. Where should we start when it comes to the creep factor of Gulliver's Kingdom? First off, this abandoned theme park is located in close proximity to Japan's infamous suicide forest of Akigahara. You might remember it from Logan Paul's famous video. Second, the giant-sized model of the park's Gulliver nickname lies at the center with a 1,000-yard stare that particularly begs visitors to run away in terror. Gulliver's Kingdom wasn't far from where Japan's infamous doomsday cult Aim Shinrikyo held its headquarters. Is it any wonder why no one wanted to take the trip to this park for a day full of fun and frolicking? Today, Gulliver's Kingdom reminds us of the importance of these 3 famous real estate rules: location and location and location. Number 2. Land of Oz, North Carolina. You wouldn't want to follow the yellow brick road here in the land of Oz, North Carolina, as it will lead you to one of the creepiest sites in the US. The park, which opened in 1970, 31 years after the release of the Wizard of Oz film, closed in 1980 after its owner passed away and a fire destroyed the site's Emerald City. As a 16-acre Wizard of Oz theme park, the Land of Oz was incredibly popular when it first opened in the 1970s. However, shortly after opening, interest began to decline and the park became almost completely deserted. Then, in 1975, there was a fire that destroyed the parts of the park, and the park was officially abandoned. Land of Oz still opens its gates a few days a year around Halloween time for visitors brave enough to explore. Number 1. Spree Park, Germany. Debt is a big reason behind the closure of many amusement parks, with this theme park being no exception. Spree Park thrived in former East Germany, both before and after the fall of the Berlin Wall, only to face financial woes during the turn of the millennium. The park's new owners couldn't keep Spree Park afloat after 2002, with many of the rides, including a giant Ferris wheel, rusting away on park grounds. What's worse, the park's recent owner, Norbert White, was later jailed for attempted drug smuggling within one of the rides, effectively ending any hopes of Spree Park being in business. Do you find beauty in these decaying, spine-chilling spots? Which one do you think is the creepiest of all? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.